Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. Um, I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
You serious?
I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be.
Welcome to the show. You're a one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and online all the time at westhesportsguy.com. Make sure you bookmark that site. When the NFL preview comes down the pipe, it will be there at westhesportsguy.com. You can also get all my social media links, the podcast link as well, conveniently located for you at westhesportsguy.com. There's been a lot said about Kyler Murray, the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, and his new contract extension for them, which is in reality a 3-year extension that is guaranteeing him well over $100 million. And the rest of the money in the last 2 years of that contract is not really fully guaranteed. But as I said, it's really a 3-year extension where it's mostly guaranteed money. And then the last 2 years is not fully guaranteed, to where the Cardinals have basically a 3-year tryout. Not necessarily tryout, but I would say just a prove it kind of an extension with Kyler Murray. Not to say that Kyler Murray is not a very talented and well-deserving quarterback of this extension, but between the franchise and the quarterback being put into the public eye, there needs to be some things put into proper context, and I'm going to attempt to do that for you here on this channel. Did you know that Kyler Murray gave an interview to the New York Times in late December of 2021, just before the end of last season? And if you didn't know, you wouldn't be the first. I didn't know either. I went and I read the interview, and I found a little nugget that I believe puts all of this into proper context of why did the Arizona Cardinals put an addendum in his extension that says he has to have a minimum of 4 hours of film study every week when the season begins. And I'll get to that in just a moment, but here's the proper context of why I believe that addendum was put into his extension and his new contract with the Arizona Cardinals. This quote that I found from the New York Times at the end of the story says, quote, "I think I was blessed with the cognitive skills to just go out there and just see it before it happens. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit there and kill myself watching film. I don't sit there for 24 hours and break down this team and that team and watch every game because in my head, I see so much." Now, in proper context, this story was not a slam against Kyler Murray. It wasn't really even, you could say, a puff piece. This was kind of like a semi-biography for the New York Times about Kyler Murray. But Kyler Murray, I'm not saying it's wrong to have that type of attitude, belief about yourself. I will say, though, that you don't have to be Peyton Manning. Not everybody is Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, any other quarterback you can think of, even back in the day when film study was not thought of as something that needed to be done on a week-to-week basis, especially during the season when you're playing some of the best teams in the world, or not just the world, but in the league. So that's not to say Kyler Murray doesn't already do that, but that quote given to the New York Times late last season, this is obviously well before he got his extension, that probably raised a few eyebrows, especially with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, from the Arizona Cardinals' perspective, I don't think that they were in the wrong for putting this in the contract because, let's be frank here, Kyler Murray's camp knew this was in the contract before he signed. He still signed the contract with this addendum in it that specified that he needed to do a minimum of 4 hours of film study every week during the season, when the season began, up until when the season ended. It says it in the addendum. Now, when this whole thing started, NFL reporter Ian Rappaport for NFL Network, he's not the best, he's not one of the worst, he's not Adam Schefter, but certainly he has some Adam Schefter-esque moments, especially on Twitter. he tweeted out the details of the addendum in the contract for Kyler Murray's extension with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, he also followed it up literally 3 minutes later after the initial tweet by saying that Kyler Murray does 4 hours of game studying on his own anyway. Well, thanks, Ian. I mean, we kind of figured that was the case, but you also have to realize, why would the Cardinals put this in there in that contract in the first place? And then you have to ask yourself that question, and really ask Kyler Murray that question, really. Why did you go ahead and sign the contract when then you gave your own little impromptu presser just at the beginning of training camp saying that it's, quote, disrespectful and almost a joke to say that you don't prepare for games and you couldn't get to where you are now without that type of preparation? That's not the question, Kyler. You signed an extension with a lot of money, and there's this addendum in there saying that you need to do a minimum of 4 hours of independent film study that doesn't involve video game play either, which that was also part of the New York Times story, but that wasn't a slam against him. That was just part of the story. If you want to read it, go find it. Late December 2021, New York Times, Kyler Murray. But looking at the addendum itself, the interesting part about this is that it also says at the very end, at number 4, in the event player breaches this addendum in any respect at any time during the term of the contract, player shall be deemed to be in default, as that term is defined in paragraph 27 of the contract. Interesting. So that makes me think that the Cardinals didn't want to really give him this extension yet, because let me remind you too about Kyler Murray and his progression so far in his career. He's going into the 4th year of his NFL experience. He's only been in the league for 3 seasons. He's only had 1 playoff appearance. That 1 playoff appearance was a dud. And let's be frank, the Arizona Cardinals were not a good team going into the playoffs last year. They ran up against the eventual Super Bowl champion LA Rams, first matchup of the playoffs, and the Rams stomped them. Wasn't even much of a game to begin with. But Kyler Murray has had these questions so far in his NFL career, especially with the way the Cardinals have finished seasons with Kyler Murray as their quarterback. They've sputtered at the end. They've missed opportunities his first 2 seasons to even get to the playoffs when they had ample opportunity and a chance to clinch a playoff spot, and it was blown in the end. They almost tried to blow it in the end last season, but because of the run that they had for most of the season, they still managed to get in there anyway. But that's the question mark regarding Kyler Murray. Is he going to get this team to the next level? That was the question for his first 3 seasons. Mind you, most rookies have a 5-year deal with a 5th-year option being picked up. But Kyler Murray wanted an extension now, seeing how much money was being thrown around at quarterbacks, which again, no fault on his side of things. You want to get your money as quickly as possible. I get it. Not a problem. I just found it curious that he's wanting it after just year 3, when if you're going to put all this together now for year 4, after finally making it to the playoffs, then you could start asking for this extension because you're getting into that 5th-year option, and then you could put the pressure on the franchise at that point. But after year 3, I found it kind of curious. But again, I'm not faulting him for wanting to get paid as soon as possible. Now, when it comes to this whole fiasco about what the Cardinals did, was it right? Was Kyler Murray in the right? Who leaked this addendum? My belief is, I think somebody in Kyler Murray's camp leaked this addendum. Reason why I think that is the case is because now the Arizona Cardinals have taken this addendum out of Kyler Murray's contract. Ian Rappaport tweeting that they have removed the controversial, quote, independent study clause from Kyler Murray's extension. And this was the statement by the Arizona Cardinals that says, in quote, "After seeing the distraction it created, we removed the addendum from the contract. It was clearly perceived in ways that were never intended. Our confidence in Kyler Murray is as high as it's ever been, and nothing demonstrates our belief in his ability to lead this team more than the commitment reflected in this contract." Just that alone makes me believe that somebody in Kyler Murray's camp, I'm not saying it was Kyler Murray himself, but somebody on his representation side leaked this addendum to try to put the pressure on the Arizona Cardinals to then get rid of it, or in some way embarrass the franchise. I don't believe this was done to help Kyler Murray at all, because this does not help Kyler Murray going forward. This basically makes it seem like Kyler Murray is not prepared on a week-to-week basis to play in the NFL at the most important position in the league and in the sport in general. That is what's going on here. This is done to embarrass the Arizona Cardinals into getting rid of this addendum, because maybe there would have been some protest when this was put together during contract negotiations, but they really had no leverage. So now what ended up happening, somebody from Kyler Murray's camp, and I'm looking at his agency mostly, that wanted to put the pressure, on the Cardinals franchise to get this out of the contract, get some public pressure on it as well, because as you probably have seen from the usual suspects, most of the coverage has been, why would you put this in this contract? He obviously studies film. There's no issue with this whatsoever. And thus, now you have the Arizona Cardinals caving and saying, we've always believed in Kyler Murray. We decided this is a distraction and blah, 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 blah. You read the statement. This is all by design. And it's not surprising to me in the least, and it shouldn't be surprising to you. But what is somewhat surprising is that the Cardinals still went ahead and were backed into a corner going into negotiations. Obviously, they're going all in with Kyler Murray. They have to at this point, but they certainly had some leverage to say, look, you got another year. Let's prove it. We're probably going to pick up your option. We'll go ahead and pick up your option right now, just to show how much we're committed to you. We'll pick up that 5th-year option right now. Most teams wait until about the 4th year, midway or half, or at the end of that 4th year to pick up that option. We'll pick it up now. That's our proof that we are all in with you right now. But what has Kyler Murray shown to prove he deserves this extension right now? One playoff appearance, that's it. And again, the film study thing, I'm not expecting anybody to go in and be Peyton Manning. Nobody is. Look at Kirk Cousins for the Minnesota Vikings. Does he do any kind of film study? I have no idea. It doesn't matter to me how much time you put into the film study. It's a part of the prep now. But if you're going to tell me that what the Cardinals did, they were in the wrong to do it, look back at that New York Times quote again. He doesn't consider watching film as a huge part of his prep. That was why the addendum got put in the contract. This is all in its proper context. That's why this was put in this contract. Are there better ways to handle this? Probably. But the only reason why you and me know about this addendum is that somebody leaked it, most likely from Kyler Murray's side, to say, let's get this into the public and get this out of the contract so that way there's no issues on our side going forward behind the scenes without the public knowing about it, to where now we're looking like the fools. And the reason why he lost out on all this money is because he didn't study film. That's what's going on here. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell below to get notified when all the latest videos are posted on this channel, whether it be at YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, or Odyssey. Bookmark westthesportsguy.com for that NFL preview coming down the pipe shortly. All the social media links, the podcast link as well. Leave a 5-star review if you like what you're listening to here on One-on-One with yours truly, Wes the Sports Guy. I will see you next time.